on the C over there. It sucks. I'll do it later.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Happy Thursday.
You couldn't remember, could you?
Look at my phone for just a second.
It's all right. You should know what day it is. Tomorrow's your debut as the Burns play-by-play.
That is correct.
Yeah, I mean,
and
come on.
tomorrow is our debut as the host of Views from Mint Street, the new exclusive Carolina Panthers podcast, powered by Odyssey and presented by, well, me and Lonzo. Big day for the boys on the Rob Brown Show tomorrow. We got a nationally published podcast that's coming out. I'll be dropping my first game as the voice of the Burns Rebels. Saturday, a nationally syndicated baseball gambling show, and 2 more episodes of this award-winning hype train roll through the station over the next 27 hours. So, we're kind of a big deal.
We're getting there.
We're kind of a big deal.
We're getting there. I mean, how much do you have to be globally before you are a big? You're already a big deal. You are. You really are. That move to Greenville was a good move for you.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
Yes, it was. And as if all of that wasn't good enough, Captain America Chris Evans down the hall hooked up our brand new 65-inch 4K HD in the studio today, which means that on top of all of that, there is a strong possibility that at some point in the future, Lonzo and I's Twitch channel is going to get up and go, and you guys can start hanging out while we play video games, because that is what the kids do.
Here's how cool Chris is. So he's not in here, so he can't hear me saying that he's cool.
You can compliment him because he can't hear you.
Yeah, he left the stickers on the TV so we could pull them off. So they're still over there. I'm looking. Yeah. As long as we don't pull them off and the TV falls.
I'm not touching the TV, for the record. As much as I want to be, as much
you're not gonna pull those stickers off.
As much as the satisfaction you get from pulling stickers off of new electronic screens is, if there is the chance that he forgot one screw in the installation process of hanging that bad boy on the wall, if there's the off chance he forgot one wing nut somewhere and I rip that thing and it comes down off the wall, I'm not being held responsible for that. Yeah, we are big deals. I'm not, hey, Rob, don't worry about it. We'll just take that 65-inch 4K HD TV out of your next 4 paychecks. No, I'm not that big yet. I'm also not 2 years, $97.1 million worth of big either. Braun, a 2-year, $97.1 million extension to stick around with the Lake Show. So the Lake Show is not going to demo job themselves just yet. 2 years, $97.1 million. Listen, I'm a Braun guy as a basketball player. I still think Braun is one of the best basketball players in the world, certainly in the league.
Is this
$97 million for 2 years?
Is this because he's faded a little? I mean, maybe that you're reluctant to pay him that much. You know, the market dictates how much, someone is willing to pay someone else, and they're willing to pay him, so good for him.
Yeah, no, hell no. Good for Braun. Sure.
The thing is, you get paid that much money. Should you be allowed to load manage?
Yes. Anti-load management people. I understand. I get it. But I don't understand and I don't get it.
I'm okay with it as long as you don't play in summer leagues. Because if you play in summer leagues or you're doing pickup basketball in your own court in your house and someone knows, then it's defeating the purpose of load management.
No, I even disagree with that. Summer league's not doing anything, right?
It's not. You're still on the court.
Working out. The premise of workload is when you've got like 4 games in a week, right? 4 games in a week. If you're in a summer league, you might play 4 games in a month. Like that little pop-up league or whatever it was that he played in a few weeks back, and people started freaking out, you'll load manage during the regular season, but you can play in the summer. Yes.
Okay,
Do you think LeBron,
I have no idea what that accent was. It
I don't
was,
either.
It was like you're trying to go Connery without the British.
I needed something condescending.
Or Scottish or whatever it was.
LeBron James in the summer league.
You're completely wrong on this. If you are willing to play in the summer, stop playing in the summer. I realize you need to work out, but stop playing in summer leagues. Take those summer league games, put them in regular season games, and play those regular season games.
That's not how it works. It's not.
Why is it not how it works?
Okay. If I ask you,
if you're watching on the stream, you saw that look.
Because
that looked like you simpleton. How do you not get this?
Because I've heard this argument before, and I don't get it. If I ask you, Lonzo, this week, let's say next week, I ask you every day after work next week, every day after work, you and I are going to hit the gym for a 3-hour full United States Marine workout, right? Like 5 days next week, we're going 3 hours after the show, boot camp every day.
I'm completely down for that because we're not making it through the very first one.
No.
So I mean, I'm willing to commit. We'll both be in the hospital after about an hour and a half. But,
I sweated walking to Burns practice on Monday, all right? If I ask you to go through that workout with me, all 5 days next week, 3 hours after each, and then you said yes, you going out and working out 5 days after that is over, or 5 days before we did it, would not have an impact on those 5 days, right? Like it's a reset bar. It's a long rest, man. If you play 2 or 3 games in the summer, you get a long rest before you get to the game. When you get into the season, however, and you're stacking that many games into that short of a period of time, each game has an impact on the next. A summer league game in April or May does not have an impact on a regular season game in September.
All right, let's use the preseason football argument. So if I'm paying you $97 million and you get hurt in summer league, I mean, it's better for you to get hurt in the regular season, right? So I don't want you playing in summer league. You're playing in.
That's a better argument.
You're playing in summer league where it doesn't matter, and it's not necessary at all. You're really just going out there and having fun. You can roll your ankle. You can hit a stanchion. There's a lot of things that could happen.
That's a better argument.
You could get. I think both arguments were good, but okay. At least I found one that you're okay with. If I'm paying you that much money, you are not.
Sure.
It's like having in your contract you can't drive a motorcycle. It's the same sort of thing.
Right. I agree with that.
You can't jump off cliffs. You can't
except for if
eat exotic mushrooms.
If I am LeBron and I say I want to play in summer league games, you're letting me. You're letting me. You're paying me $97.1 million. I have power that comes with that. You are letting me, which is part of the reason he's there, because they said, no, you can just do whatever you want, right? Just be ready to play. Because if you're not going to give him 97-1, Cleveland will, the Clippers will, the Knicks will, the Bulls will, somebody will. I don't know. I don't know. I saw the social media rage. LeBron got $97 million. That's ridiculous. No, it's not. He's one of the best 5 basketball players in the league, and he is the most famous American athlete on planet Earth.
I'm glad that baseball stats guy also is a basketball fan. It's good to know.
Well,
he's well-rounded.
He's very well-rounded. He is. Nobody's bringing eyes to the Lakers like LeBron. That's why $97.1 million for 2 years. I didn't plan on talking a lot of LeBron James.
Stay out the summer league, LeBron. Stay out the summer league.
I mean, I don't care, right? You can get in a car accident just as easy. You can break your leg playing pickup basketball. LeBron's been playing pickup basketball every summer, and as far as I'm aware, has not had a preseason injury impact the regular season. Now, granted, my dude is racking towards 39 years of age right now. So he's not the same dude that he was 20 years ago when he came into the league. But you get it. Texas says, Rob, anti-load management people should go out and play 4 games in a week on the pickup court and see how they feel with just a little bit of basketball. Yeah. Guys, even if you are an elite level athlete, you get tired, you get fatigued, you get exhausted.
By the way, I just want to point out, I have no problem with load management if you're not playing Summer League. If you're playing Summer League, it becomes a problem. It's a bad look. It is a bad look. I know you can, I'm just not being serious. You can get hurt while not being serious. That's usually when you get hurt, when you're not playing like you normally do.
If you're the GM, are you dumping no motorcycle, wave runners, 4-wheelers, kite surfing, cliff diving, skydiving, or hot pepper food eating challenges into guys' contracts?
Yes, I am paying probably a group of analysts to come in and come up with all the dangerous things that my guy I've just paid $97 million should not be allowed to do. Absolutely. That's protecting your investment.
I don't disagree. I will tell you,
I might
have a lot of players who aren't going to sign with you.
I might even put their house in a bubble.
No, I'm done with bubbles. We did our 1 year in the bubble. I don't want any more bubbles. I'm done with bubbles.
We could 3D print a bubble.
Sports bubbles are terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a heck of a show lined up for you today. Looking forward to having you join us on the show at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FAN-FONE, 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-PHONE. You can text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, and we will read them on the air. Texter says, hilarious story, Rob. The New York Police Department broke up a mafia gambling ring, arresting Joe Fish, Little Anthony, and Saul the Shoemaker. They funnel money through a shoe repair shop and soccer club. Joey Fish.
All right. What was Saul the Shoemaker?
Saul the Shoemaker. Let's see. I just found the story. It's from the New York Daily News, so grain of salt with that as a source.
Saul is the little Weasley dude running it. He has to be.
Saul the Shoemaker. Yeah, he is. Who else is going to be called the Shoemaker and not stop his mafia buddies from calling him that?
Hey, you in here for some loafers? I got some loafers over here.
Loafers.
They may have something down inside, stuff in the shoes.
The Daily News of New York says the law enforcement takedown of a lucrative gambling ring shared by 2 mafia families hooked see what they did there? Hooked a crooked Long Island cop and 8 mobsters, including one known as Joe Fish. Joe Macario was charged along with 4 crime family colleagues and 3 members of the Bonanno family for running the betting business from inside legitimate Queens and Long Island businesses over the last decade, according to the Brooklyn Attorney General's office. Nassau County Detective Hector Rosario of Manola, Long Island, was also charged with taking cash from the Bonannos in return for arranging raids against competing illegal gambling sites, including one based in a rival Genovese-run shoe repair outlet. End quote. Oh, this has got everything. It's got everything. We got mobsters. We got dudes with great TV mobster nicknames like Joe the Fish and Sal the Shoemaker.
All right, I get the Shoemaker. How do you get Fish as your
Joe Fish?
Yeah.
Not Joe the Fish. Joe Fish.
Is he expert at placing people in the river with shoes?
Genovese acting capo Carmine Polito. You got to have a
It's Carmine. He's back.
Was additionally charged with operating an illegal online betting operation where deadbeat gamblers faced beatdowns or worse. Polito told an associate to warn one debtor, quote, "Tell him I'll put him under the bleeping bridge," end quote. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is officially the new catchphrase of the Rob Brown Show. Did you see LeBron put that guy on skates? He put him under the bleeping bridge. Fantastic, man. And listen, Rob, why did some guy send you a random story about an illegal gambling ring run by multiple mafia families in New York? Because Carmine has been a running gag on this show for a year and a half, and now we have a crime story with an actual Carmine.
All right, so I'm a little concerned because we're starting to get these stories and everything, and yes, we kind of make fun, make light of it. What if the Spartanburg mob comes at us a little bit, and they're concerned because the mob runs out of Spartanburg?
Listen, if there are any Spartanburg Mafia members listening, and I'm not talking about you goofy dudes in the jacked up trucks that are like, yo, Dirt Mafia, like live your life. That's cool. We're not talking to you, all right? We're not talking to you. I'm talking about the dudes in the mafia.
The ones in old Spartanburg. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I need you to know I am not mocking, making fun of, or trying to take you down in any way. I just love the trope that played out here. I will stay in my lane. All right? I don't play poker. I don't gamble. I will stay in my lane. Is there genuinely mafia running out of the burg?
I don't know that you could say you don't gamble because you are kind of on a show.
I gamble on baseball.
Yeah, so
but I
mean,
don't play baseball. Therefore, I don't fit into every mafia stereotype.
Okay, yeah, they can't put some heat on you to get you to throw a game.
Unless you guys are trying to rig the results of beer league softball, which I can tell you, there's not a lot of big money, lucrative deals in.
That you're aware of. So the thing is, the fact that you are not entirely questioning the possibility that there is mob in Spartanburg.
No!
And you haven't been into the old part of Spartanburg. You roll into the old part of Spartanburg, you're going to think, okay, yeah, I could see that.
I'm not even being sarcastic. Like, I will stay in my lane because I don't know.
You're gonna be in Spartanburg a couple times this year, doing some football games. Maybe roll into the old town, just to see what it looks like.
I mean, I do eat at a lot of Italian restaurants.
It's not that much out of your way. You'll know when you're there.
Texter just texted into the show and said, Rob, I live in the Berg, and I can confirm the mob is here. I for the record, I wasn't saying that as in, oh, I doubt it, or, oh, you guys are making up boogeymen. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying I don't know, and hopefully I'll never find out. All right? Hopefully I'll never find out. With all due respect to the Carmines and Joey Fishes of the Berg, I do not wish to cross paths. I will let you do your thing. You let me do mine.
If you want to send us an offer for dinner that we can't refuse.
No. If Lonzo wants to run with the mob, hat at. I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take our break because we accomplished nothing in that segment. Shocking, I know. When we come back, the jokes go to the side. Because yesterday came arguably what might end up being the biggest story in college football. I am talking expansion included. Yesterday, an absolute bomb dropped regarding the College Football Playoff Committee, and it may have implications that touch every college football team and fan. I'll tell you what that is when we come back. My name is Rob. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
So we have a technical problem for the podcast.
Huzzah!
So
And that
we'll
is-
have to, we'll talk about it later.
Okay. The quote is when she tells you she's not into middle-aged guys, and there's a night. Dad jokes.
All right, so the chapter didn't show up.
Okay.
Let me try it again. It's working on Word. For some reason, it's not working on the show. Ah, edit all titles. It did show up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Alonzo and you. Let me get to this. Because the first seeds of insurrection hath been sown, ladies and gentlemen. The 11 college presidents and chancellors who make up the College Football Playoff Board of Managers had a little meeting yesterday. It was digital. They were all on Zoom because, well, it's 2022 and that's what we do now. And they had a discussion that could very well not just shape the direction of college football in the future. They had a conversation that could rip it apart at the seams as we know it and reconstruct it into something completely different. Pete Thamel reports that multiple sources told him that the Board of Managers, and I quote, briefly discussed the possibility of restructuring how college football is governed, with the idea presented of major college football being governed outside of the NCAA, end quote. Now, the concept itself is not a huge surprise to most of us, as most of us have said and assumed for some time that this was a not just possibility, but a very realistic possibility, right? A very realistic possibility. And the most popular / I think realistic outcome of this scenario would be that the National Collegiate Athletic Association is effectively replaced by the College Football Playoff Committee. The NCAA would be no mas, and instead of the NCAA, college football at its highest level, I do not think that this would include the NCAAJC. I do not think it would include Division II football. And to be quite honest with you, with the expansion of the SEC, with the expansion of the Big Ten, with the efforted expansion of the ACC and the Pac-12 and the Big 12, it would not surprise me all that much if you ended up with the whatever it becomes, Power 2, Power 3, Power 4, all becoming their own entity governed by the CFB, and everybody else stays under the NCAA in a different formation. Thamel writes, quote, the most logical place for the sport to be run outside of the NCAA would be under the auspices of the CFP, which was discussed on the call. The CFP currently oversees the sport's postseason playoff and has contractual ties to other marquee postseason bowl games, end quote. Thamel goes on to write, quote, sources cautioned that these discussions are in such early stages that it could be considered the first steps of a complicated process that would resemble a marathon. The sources added that the group spoke about the idea for only about 5 minutes, as it was raised as something the group should think more about down the line, end quote. So, to put that into context, effectively what you have here is a conversation that says, hey, yo, this is a consideration. This is a possibility. There is a more than realistic chance that somewhere down the line, we can move in this direction. It does not mean that is coming soon. It does not mean that it will be under the exact situation we are talking about. When it comes down to it, all this says is that the idea has now been floated by the people who have the power, the ability, the influence to make it happen. That's it. There is nothing imminent. There is nothing coming down the pipe as we speak. There is nothing to it right this second. But the discussion has been started. The discussion is underway. If they talked about it for 5 minutes on this regularly scheduled call, my bet is that they will talk about it for 5 more on the next one and 5 more on the one after that. And eventually that 5 turns to 8. And that 8 turns to 12, and that 12 turns to 20, and that 20 turns to 30, and that 30 to 45, and that 45 to 60. That's my sneaky suspicion. We have talked about for some time the realistic possibility that the NCAA is jettisoned by the top tier levels of college football. That the NCAA is effectively abandoned because the CFP goes to the SEC and the Big Ten and says, hey, you know how you guys are kind of unhappy with the way the NCAA is governing things right now? What do you say? We just do it ourselves. And as is evidenced by the fact that the Big Ten just signed another fat contract, that the SEC, when it is time for them to renegotiate their media rights grants, are going to strike a deal that I promise you is going to threaten a bill. The ACC has one that is locked in until 2035, 36, whatever it is. The money is the power in college football. We know that. Anybody want to argue that? Weird. I thought I heard crickets. The money is the power. Without the conferences, the NCAA ain't got none, right? Without the conferences pitching in, the NCAA ain't got none. And if the NCAA ain't got none, why wouldn't the big 2 or 3 or 4 just go, wait. So the College Football Playoff Committee already operates separately from the NCAA. The NCAA College Football Playoff Committee works effectively without and not under the jurisdiction of the NCAA. And we are not in any way, shape, or form contractually obligated to remain with the NCAA. well, then why in the world would we not jump? Why in the world would we not move over? The NCAA has a billion things that it has to consider every time it makes a decision. Football is the biggest one, sure. But the NCAA has to make every decision with Title IX considerations. It has to make every decision with Olympic sports considerations. It has to make every decision with the colleges and universities in mind. Do you know what the College Football Playoff Committee has to have in mind when they make a decision? The college football playoffs and nothing else. And nothing else. Famo goes on to write, quote, one other item discussed on the call was the notion that the next iteration of the college football playoff, whatever that would look like, could be put into place before the end of the current CFP contract. The contract has 4 seasons remaining and runs out after the 2025 season. A source told ESPN that the general feel among the presidents and chancellors on the call was that the college sports leaders have left too much money on the table by not implementing a new playoff before 2026. All right, full stop right there. We told you that too, yeah? We told you that too. We told you that the last time that expansion talk came up. And there was discussion that expanding the playoffs out to 12 teams would be worth about $250 million split up on top of what is already on the table. About $250 million split up amongst the college football teams and conferences that are invited into that playoff, whether it be 8 or 12 of them, right? You think the CFP doesn't know that? You think the fact that the CFP, due to outside influence, was unable to get an extra $250 million into the fold? You think there's not a little steam built up in the ears of the guys and gals that are running that thing, that $250 million got left on the table that they could have fixed up, they could have cashed in on, and they couldn't do it because outside power had more than they did in the decision-making process? Of course they're upset about it. And that spurs this conversation. That's what gets this conversation going on. Thamel says it was up to $500 million. I got to tell you, for $500 million, there's a lot of things I say I won't do that I would do for $500 million. The CFP is no different. CFP is no different at all. So we'll see what happens. There's still a lot that has to get done before that type of decision could be made. But the current CFP contract has 4 more seasons, this upcoming season included, right? And if there are 4 more seasons, this upcoming season included, you can look at 2 seasons from now, the conversation getting very serious. 3 seasons from now, the actual idea being floated, and 4 seasons from now, something gonna change. Because Texas and Oklahoma will be SEC by then. USC and UCLA will be Big Ten by then. The ACC will be still the ACC, but they will have added somebody by then. I don't know who. Looking less and less likely that it's Notre Dame. But they'll have added somebody and will be the EEC conference. But the CFP will be in a spot where they can go to the schools and go, okay, we are unchained right now. We are unrestricted right now. We are in a spot right now where we can make a dramatic move, and there's no reason that you guys can't come over with us and build a new college football from the ground up. Yay or nay? What's your call? What's your call? And the big conferences can go, oh, you said $500 million? What time should we be there? You said $500 million split up between us? What time does that party start, and is it a costume party? We'll be there. The fact that they had a conversation may not feel like a big deal. It may not feel like it's a big deal. This is a huge deal. Because the only people up until literally yesterday, the only people up until yesterday who were having conversations about the NCAA going away and the CFB creating their own entity was guys like me and Lonzo and you. And now the decision makers are having that discussion. The decision makers have sat down and had a Zoom call about it. It is no longer Rob Brown, local yokel radio host in the upstate of South Carolina going, hey guys, what if the NCAA went away? Now it's the people that can pull a Joey Fish and put them under the bleeping bridge that are having the discussion. Lonzo, this feels like a big deal to me. This feels like a bit of history we're going to be talking about a handful of years from now. Do you remember back on August 17th, 2022, when the first can got kicked?
But it's not unexpected. It has to go this direction for the NCAA to be eliminated. And we've been talking about 2 super conferences. Of course, they're going to have to figure out a way to regulate it, and they're going to want to be outside of what they're having to deal with now. Will they continue as far as, does this give more power to the CFP committee? Do they continue to bring members in and out? I mean, who's going to be over this whole thing?
The CFB. I mean, they have basically just said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw our own party, and we're going to decide who's invited and what the party favors are and what the snacks are going to be, because the NCAA has been doing a real bad job. They've been doing a real bad job at throwing parties. We're going to be our own party planning committee now. We're going to make the party ourselves, and we're going to be in charge of the party, and all you guys have to do is leave the NCAA party. So you guys have been buying beer kegs for the NCAA's keggers for years. Now you can come to ours. We'll provide the kegs and pay you to show up. I got to tell you, as a dude in this line of work, I go to a lot of parties I'm paid to be at. It's pretty sweet. That's all they're doing. We'll throw our own parties and pay ourselves to be there. Yesterday was a watershed moment because now the people have the ability to pull the trigger to make this change. They put the bullets in the gun. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you. This is the Fan Upstate. All right, morning, everybody in the stream. Glad to have you guys with us. Appreciate you coming to hang out.
I didn't realize I didn't turn the lights on. I mean, if you want to turn them on, you can.
Yeah, just turn my. Well, that TV's kind of bright. I like it.
Should be something on it, but you know. Did you see the Dodgers reporter that broke his arm going down the slide?
Did he break his arm?
Yeah.
I saw him hit the wall, but I didn't know he genuinely hurt himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
They show him later on in the video holding up his arm, and he's got a broken arm.
Really?
If it was wrestling, I would think it's a work, but you know. Fractured 6 ribs also, according to TMZ Sports.
Let's see. New York Post. Ended the broadcast in a soft cast and said, "Hey guys, I do my own stunts, Tom Cruise style." Asked what went wrong. He said, "My skinny fat body can't handle it."
He hits the wall at the end of the end of the thing.
And hard too.
It didn't look like that much of
No. That's a hard wall. That wasn't like a padded wall. That was like a steel wall.
I mean, he didn't look like he was moving that fast to me, but you know. I wonder if he signed a waiver before he went down the thing. A USC law professor warns Warner Brothers Discovery's decision to cancel Batgirl may raise antitrust concerns. So, if they push and they get this movie put out there and it is the worst thing ever, and you find out that the reason why they canceled it is because it's really that bad and it has nothing to do with anything else. Kind of like Nick Cage's Superman. You know, they got that whole thing done. They never put that out there for a reason. If it's bad, it's bad. Went and played with Danny Trejo yesterday.
Did you?
It was worth it.
Does he have a machete?
He does, but he's making tacos. And there's a minister of food for the island doesn't like it that his tacos are so good and wants the recipe. And so you have to fight off guys while he's making tacos.
Amazing.
Well, he's making
amazing.
Then your reward is you get a sweet motorcycle. Danny Trejo's motorcycle at the end of it. Yeah. The whole time he's talking to you. You can't rush perfection and all this kind of stuff. It was
amazing. All right, wrapping up hour number 1. Texter says, Rob, I called this happening 2 years ago. I texted into the show then and stated that this would happen. Between the transfer portal and the name, image, and likeness, the NCAA can't manage. There will be one super conference with 40 to 50 teams, and that is the way it should be, end quote. I got to tell you, is it just me, Alonzo, or does that feel inevitable at this point?
Oh, absolutely inevitable. Without a doubt.
It feels to me like we're out of other options, right? That is the inevitable conclusion. Because at some point you end up with 3 mega conferences, right? That's my belief, is we head next towards 3 mega conferences. The SEC, the Big Ten, and what I affectionately refer to as the EEC, the Everybody Else Conference. And then, because money, there will be people in the EEC that eventually jump to one of the bigger conferences, right? Let's say theoretically that there's a Clemson in the EEC. And Clemson is just clearly out-earning everybody else. Well, if Clemson can add to the bottom line of the Big Ten or the SEC, eventually one of them's going to come a-calling. And then you're going to have other schools in the EEC, like Miami and FSU, for instance, that are profitable, but they're looking at the SEC and the Big Ten and going, wait a minute. We could be more profitable and add our profits into your pile, and they may go, yeah, sure. So you end up with 2 super conferences. And then, since there's no more growth, one of those conferences is going to be the bigger conference. One of those conferences is going to be more profitable, and you got to wonder, will they be more profitable enough that teams in the other mega conference go, yeah, we could make an extra X million dollars a year if we went to that conference, right? So would you ever have an SC in the Big Ten that goes, well, we could make more in the SEC, right? And you take 1 or 2 of those big-time teams out of the Big Ten, move them to the SEC, or vice versa. And when that happens, now they're en route to just becoming the one conference. It feels inevitable to me at this point. And part of that inevitability is going to lead to a situation where the NCAA, it won't not exist. It just won't govern football anymore, right? Now, will we ever get that way with basketball? Maybe. But the NCAA will still be around for baseball and soccer and swimming and diving and track and field and cross country and field hockey, and tennis and volleyball, and all these other sports. But at this point, the inevitability for me in college football comes. The NCAA goes down, the college football playoff becomes the governing body, and we end up with just 1, at most 2, ultra super duper mega conferences. I agree with you, Texter. Back after this for hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Lad, Skrilla, James, Les, Ben, Mike, good to see you guys, man. Thanks for coming by. And all of you ghost watching, all you lurkers that don't comment, hello to you too.
Not a lurker. Don't listen to that.
Absolutely a lurker.
It's not a lurker.
Lurker's not negative, though.
It's a lurker's. I think lurker's negative. Yeah, it's negative for sure. Oh, come on. If you don't, I will. I'm just busy. Sorry for not talking. They're adding even more work that we have to do during the thing. That's what I'm going with anyway. Boats and Bros. It's cool, Trey, as long as you're not watching while you're driving, because that would, that would probably be bad.
And here we go, kids. Hour numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. This is the fan upstate. How do you do, upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What up, world? Great to be with you. We talked about the the fights that have been happening between the Panthers and the Patriots at practice the last couple of days? And I will tell you, there's a little part of me, Zoe, that's kind of digging it. There's a little part of me that's kind of digging it. And the little part of me that's kind of digging it is digging it because this team, a la Cool Runnings, has got pride, has got power, and is a badass mudda who don't take no crap off of nobody. And I just realized that Lonzo has told me in the past he's never seen Cool Runnings.
That is not true. I have seen Cool Runnings. I saw it when it first came out, but that was a really long time ago.
It was.
Yes, it was.
I like it. This team's got some passion to it. This team's got some fight to it, right? One of my questions coming into this year was, knowing that Matt Rule is on the hot seat, and knowing that players, and this will shock some of you, are human beings that have their own feelings and emotions. They're not just robot automatons built for our entertainment. I wondered, are there enough guys on this team that are done with the Matt Rule experience that may not give that fight, that may not have that intensity on the football field, that may not scrap for the squad because they know that if this season is a brick, that they'll be done with the Matt Rule experience, that he'll be gone. They'll get a new head coach. Hopefully they'll have, if they're a star, some input on who that coach is going to be, what that coaching style is going to look like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this team has, as this texter to the Preferred Home Services text line just said at 71307, and starting their text with the word FAN, F-A-N, this team has hashtag swag. And they do. Yesterday, if you missed it, Christian McCaffrey was taken down in a contact practice with what he clearly felt was a little extra enthusiasm by the defense of the New England Patriots. And when he popped back up, he just Nolan Ryan'd the ball right directly at the Patriots defensive player who knocked it down. That player did not take too kindly to Christian McCaffrey, wheeled around, told him, "I'm your Huckleberry," and got up in his grill, and it led to scrap number 3 between these two teams. I like it. I like it. They got some fight. They're getting after each other in support roles. They're getting into the face of teams that may not have all that much respect for them, right? And I got news. The Panthers aren't really in a spot where they're going to get a ton of respect. They have not been good the last couple of years, right? Can we just be honest about that? They have not been good. And because they have not been good the last couple of years, there's a lot of teams that are not going to give them the respect that they would like based on that. So the fact that the Patriots have given them just little to no respect, and the fact that they have been willing to scrap every time it happens, I like that. So there's a little fire. There's a little intensity. Now, the question when you get into this spot is, are you still disciplined? Right? I got no problem with guys getting a little heat when a little heat is needed, is necessary, is deserved. The question is, when you are getting disrespected, when these guys are getting in your grill, when they are knocking your injury-prone starting running back to the ground after a contact drill where he's run out of bounds, and you drop the hat and you do get after it, do you stay disciplined? The next play, are you looking to pop the cap off the guy that did it? Or the next play, can you refocus in on your assignment? Can you go hit the guy you're supposed to hit, not the guy that you want to hit, and keep your heads on straight? That is the question that the Panthers need to answer coming up this weekend when they play them in a preseason game.
All right, so the first game against the Commanders, they were not highly penalized, so I'm not really worried about that. I think the Patriots may have initiated a lot of this. It's okay to get chippy. It's okay to be passionate. But the fact that players were thrown out every single practice, joint practices, shows a little something. It shows a little heart, shows a little drive. But if there was a couple players that may have come out and did the same thing the next day, those are the guys you need to watch, to the point where some may not make the team. So if you're a younger guy and you're coming out there and you're fighting and you're scrappy, it might be a bad idea. But if you're a veteran like CMC, who has had so many injuries, and you're looking to finally play an entire season, then you don't want to be taken down like that in practice. You don't. And I love it that he jumped up and got upset about it. And I'm sure his teammates came to his defense, as they should. But we'll find out tomorrow night. Is this just about them not liking each other, or is this going to be a matter of discipline for the year? I don't think it is, because if it was, I think we would have seen it last week against the Commanders.
Bum, 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 bum. I don't know, right? Because like I said, the question is, what spurred this? This didn't happen in the split practices with the Commanders or the preseason game. This didn't happen in that game. But it happened all damn week between these two teams. Why? Like I said, I got a suspicion. It is an assumption. I have no evidence outside of just watching practice tape and understanding that teams feed off the energy of their coach. Hoodie is not necessarily a guy that drips respect for his peers, right? Hoodie is not a guy that anybody is going to walk away from a meeting going, I think he liked me. You're either going to walk away from that meeting going, wow, he loves me, or wow, that guy is a Class A butthole. Or
Bill smiled at me, I'm worried.
Yeah. You're not walking away with a question mark about how Hoodie feels about you. And the majority of the time, Hoodie, like Nick Saban, who I've interacted with many times, Hoodie's got love for you if you can make his football team better, right? I've told you guys the interactions I've had with Nick Saban. I've been in situations where Nick Saban has been cold as ice and willing to sacrifice our interview. And then I've been in situations with Nick Saban where he recognized, back when I was down in the Florida Panhandle, and he was trying to recruit Pensacola, Florida, which has a multitude of high-level football teams at the high school level, and has produced a good amount of talent for Alabama. Remember Glenn Coffey that ran there? He came from that area. Remember DJ Hall that played there? He came from that area. But a number of dudes that came out of the Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach area. And when Nick Saban came to an event that I was the MC for, and when Nick Saban recognized that I was buddies with a lot of high school coaches in that area, Nick Saban suddenly was the warmest, handshakenest dude in the South around me. I had been around Nick Saban multiple times. He never had anything for me till he recognized the power I held within that moment. And then Nick wanted to do everything but play around a golf with me in that moment. Bill's the same way. That's the Hoodie way. I don't suspect that Hoodie's got a lot of respect for the Carolina Panthers, right? And like I said, Panthers fans, you're going to have to get used to it. There's not a reason to have a lot of respect for your team right now. Your head coach kind of feels like a dead man walking to some degree. Your team was bad last year, right? That's just how it is. So the Patriots had no respect for the Carolina Panthers, and they practiced/played like it this week. The Panthers weren't having any bit of it. They weren't having any of it. They were back up in their grill, back up in their face, pushing, shoving, swinging, ready to go. I love that. The only question I have is, will it translate to a disciplined football team? I got no problem with you giving a little extra juice at the end of a play to let DB number 39 understand that his late hit on McCaffrey won't be tolerated. But like I said, when the whistle plays and the ball goes live and it's snapped to number 6, do you have the discipline to go block the guy you're supposed to block instead of go Terry Tate office linebacker, the guy that you want to hit? If you can, this team's got enough fight in it to be good. If you can't, good luck. Good luck. We'll see. I like it though. I like the attitude. I like the aggression. I like the push. Just show me that it's not going to overwhelm you between the starting whistle and the final whistle. That's all I need.
So if you're a coach on the team and there's a younger guy who was on the fence about whether they're going to make the team or not, and they're one of the guys that's wanting to fight a lot, do you cut them just to prove a point so everybody else will stop doing it?
I'm going to say no, right? I am going to say, I'm going to cut the dude. I'm going to cut the dude that isn't disciplined, right? If you bring a little anger, you bring a little hate, you bring a little rage onto the field, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Until it impacts the play. Until you impact the team negatively between the whistles, right? Until you impact the team negatively between the whistles. If you're out there scrapping after the whistle, and you're John and you're letting a dude know, right? You're giving him the business, as Ron Cherry would say. But you're not drawing 15-yarders and you're blocking the right guy the next time the ball is snapped. Hell no, you got a spot on my team. Are you kidding me? Of course you do. But the moment you start racking up 15-yarders and putting my offense into a hole, the minute you're supposed to crack down on the outside backer, but you climb to the second level and rack the cornerback because he talks smack to you on the last play, the minute that you're supposed to run X route against the DB, but instead of doing that, you take that extra step to slap him in the helmet, make sure he knows you're paying attention, and it causes the timing of the route to be off, that's when you're gone. That's when you're out. But I like this team. I like the aggression of this team. I like the anger of this team. I like that this team is willing to go in had. I like they're willing to attack. Now we're just going to see coming up this weekend when they take on New England, can you do all of that? Can you do all of that and play good football? I hope the answer is yes. If the answer is yes, this team could be scary. If the answer is no, it's Matt Rule's last year. That's how it comes across to me. But I guess we'll find out. All of that being said, can I give you a win that took place on social media yesterday? Bill Voth, who covers the Panthers, sent out a tweet after fight number whatever it was, 3, 4, 5, 12, who knows? Bill Voth, who works for the Panthers, sent out a tweet that said, massive scrum near far side stands, appeared Christian McCaffrey took a cheap shot which set things off. It was quote tweeted by the NHL's Carolina Hurricanes, who said, "Hey, Panthers, let us know if you need an enforcer," end quote.
Oh, that is awesome.
The Canes willing to send out the goons.
Leave Christian alone.
Put him under a bleeping bridge. I love it. I love it. NHL season's been over for a month and a quarter now, and the Canes are ready to scrap on behalf of their shared state squad.
Yeah, they haven't hit anybody in a while. They're looking for something.
I love it. I love it. Preseason game is tomorrow evening between the Panthers and the Patriots. We'll have a full breakdown of that game on tomorrow's show, including what it is exactly that Lonzo and I expect to see out of Matt Rule's dudes when they take the field against Bill Belichick by himself because he doesn't have coordinators. By the way, somebody asked him earlier this week, "Hey, Bill, what's the process for your play calling without an offensive coordinator?" And do you know what Bill, the condescending one, told the guy? He said, "I don't really have time to get into that." It's like, you do, though, Bill. This is a press conference. It's literally a conference with you and the press. What are you planning on doing to make sure that the comms between you and the offense and the not coordinators, S with a plural, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, what are you doing? What is the system that you have put in place to ensure the comms are good? And Bill's like, "Yeah, I don't really have time to get into that." No, Bill, it's a press conference. That's literally what this time is for, man.
Maybe it's overly complicated and it would take a while to explain, and he had another practice to do or something.
If you're a Patriots fan, do you feel like you're entitled to that information? Like, dude, it's like this to me.
No, it's in Bill We Trust for Patriots fans.
Is it?
It is, for sure.
Like, there are some coaches who get to that level, right? Like, Alex Anthopoulos is the GM of the Bravos, and they, 2 days ago, signed Michael Harris Jr., who's been playing pro ball for 8 months, to an 8-year contract for tens and tens of millions of dollars. And there were a lot of Bravos fans on social media that were like, "Yo, I mean, this kid's raking right now, but he's 8 months in, and you're giving him that much cheddar. What are we doing here?" And my response to every one of them was, "In Alex we trust," right? Alex brought in a bunch of dudes last year at the trade deadline that we all went, "Yo, what is he doing?" And they won a World Series. So he signed Michael, and I'm like, "Yo, in Alex we trust." He's earned that, right? Bill, if there is a coach in the NFL that fans have gone, he's earned the right for us to just trust him, is Hoodie? Sure. But Hoodie ain't got Brady no more. Right? As a fan, are you entitled for your coach explaining his decision-making process to you? Or do you just have to shut up and take it, right? Like, I don't own a lot of stock. I own a little bit, right? But if you're a dude who owns a bunch of stock in a company, right? You own a ton of stock in Microsoft. Like tens of thousands of dollars in Microsoft. You expect the CEO to show up every now and then and go, "Here's what we're doing." You expect the CEO to show up every now and then and go, "Here's how we're playing this out. We're doing this with the Xbox, and we're doing this with the laptops, and we're doing this with the PCs, and we're doing this with the new OS, and we're doing this with the games, and we're doing this with the hardware, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and we're doing this." And so that you can sit there as an investor and go, "Cool, all right, I feel good about the direction of this company." Or you can sit there as an investor and go, "This isn't good enough. I'm out." Or I'm going to use my influence to try to gain the influence of others and force a change. Well, if you're an NFL fan, you have got thousands of dollars wrapped up, even if it's not physical greenbacks. You got hours of your life wrapped up in this football team. And considering the average fan, if you're lucky, you're going to get like 60 football seasons in your life as an adult, right? If you're lucky, you're going to get like 60 football seasons in your life. I want to make sure my team's not just wasting one. So if a media member says, hey, Hoodie, you don't have an offensive coordinator, how are you going to handle that? And he goes, yeah, I don't really have time to explain that to you. Not good enough for me. It's not. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. By the way, if I ever get into a scrap at a bar, I'm tweeting out to the Hurricanes of Carolina. Hey, guys, can you send the goons? Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, I found something very, 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 very interesting about an article dropping regarding Cade Klubnik, the backup quarterback for Clemson, the freshman phenom who will be chasing down DJ Uyungale's job this year. And there's an interesting way that Dabo and the gang have decided to praise Cade. And I think there's some philosophy behind it I want to get into. That's next on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
It's supposed to be happening kind of real time, but
Okay.
so it's right after the chapter's over, you can put the stuff in there. But the last chapter they said was over 30 minutes, and it was not. So,
Yeah.
but they beta tested it, so this is the first day of launch.
Make sure you join us on the live stream by going to facebook.com/thefanupstate or go to YouTube, search for and then subscribe to The Rob Brown Show. You can watch all 3 hours of the show live every single day. Go behind the scenes with me and Lonzo. You can ask us questions, have conversations off the air with us, and watch us scramble to do our jobs correctly. It's entertaining. For you, I'm sure. Lad on the stream said, love the Office linebacker reference, and James said Terry Tate is a legend. I don't know why it is that Terry Tate Office linebacker stuck with me the way that it did. But I'm at the point in my life where anybody gets racked, and it's a Terry Tate for me. I think it's just because I've worked in like suit and tie corporate offices, Lonzo. I've worked in real jobs before. I've worked in banks. I've worked in insurance companies. I've worked in newsrooms. I've worked in suit and tie jobs. And I think anybody who works in a suit and tie job has multiple times a month where they want to Terry Tate a guy through his cubicle.
Yeah, I often thought about doing that. Even
and we
here.
don't work in real jobs.
Yeah. So I mean, I think every workplace has that, and there's also, I think, when you look around, when you go to a new job, you think, if there was a Terry Tate office linebacker here, who would it be? Who's the guy that would do all that?
Diesel has mild anger issues and the physique to get away with it. I could see Fat Boy from the Rise Guys. He's like a relatively quiet dude, but he strikes me as, I don't know about you, Zoe, and every football team I've been around, the quietest offensive lineman is the scary one.
Yeah, but the thing with him, if you're out in the hallway, you got a good shot because he barely fits down the hallway.
Yeah, but you have the hallways are narrow. There's no lateral movement available, right? Like if he catches you,
it's also a squared circle, so you could run the opposite direction. He could be hiding around the corner. I think it takes him a little bit of time to pick up steam. So you may have time to change your course and head the other way.
Evasive maneuvers.
I think Todd, the way Todd is built,
Twisted Todd would get the low center of gravity, no doubt.
He's stocky.
Yeah. He'd have the low. He'd be the low man. Low man wins, and Todd would be the low man. And being punk rock bassist, there's a little extra rage in Todd. He's another one of those dudes. Like, he's relatively quiet. He's a phenomenal dad. I've seen him around his kid. He's a great dad. He's a good dude.
He's also angry. So, I mean, there's a good shot that he could take someone out because, especially when you've been somewhere for a long time, it makes you a little more angry. But you notice we didn't mention anybody from the news talk station.
No, none of no, all due respect, none of them scare me.
Well, I am, I'm a dual threat here.
You on that station.
Yeah, I am though. I have been for 22 years, but still, I get it. Yeah, there's no one over there. There's no one at B. We have 7 radio stations, by the way, here in the building. In case you're listening, you didn't know. So there's no one at B.
No.
There's no one at Magic.
No. I don't think there's anybody on the classic rock station.
Well,
I think Stoneman would try. I think Stoneman would give it a run.
Shins and knees. He'd
be more of he's British. He'd be more of a slide tackle dude anyway.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
He'd be more like Jerry Pate, office defensive back line.
There might be a couple sales guys down there who might be able to do it. We've had some fairly agile guys back in the day. I think Kevin would just bounce off of either one of us. I know he's probably listening. That's why I said that. Oh, Jay is pretty athletic though for an older guy.
Yeah. Have you met Glenn yet? Our new sales dude. I feel like Glenn could put some pop. Glenn's still got some athlete in him. He could do it. I mean, Hendricks is probably the most in shape of all of us, but I don't know if he's like Hendricks has got. I don't know if he's got that rage in him to go Terry Tate.
All right, here's the thing with
he's more of a DB, right?
Here's the thing with our boss. When he does get angry, there's an explosion involved in it that it's just instant rage that makes you take a step back. So I think he probably would be fairly effective.
So he's like Waterboy at the end of the movie.
You wouldn't see him.
Gatorade is better.
You would just walk past and then boom. I mean, he's got that.
Explosiveness.
Yes, he's got that.
Explosiveness.
You wouldn't be able to tell by the way he walks, but he's got that quick. When he gets mad, he's got that quick.
Who's the Terry Tate office linebacker in your office? Like, who's the guy?
By the way, it doesn't have to be a dude.
No, not at all. I'm talking the person in your office that you see that sometimes they just want to get that 10-yard pursuit angle, put the hat across the shoulder pads, and end you. Who's that guy in your office? Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, there's been a lot of praise of Cade Klubnik and the way that he has handled this offseason program for the Clemson Tigers. I'm going to give Dabo Swinney and the coaching staff a lot of credit because they are handling the praise of the young quarterback in a very, very smart way. I'll tell you what I mean by that when we come back. My name is Rob Brown. He's the great Malonzo, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
Going down the hall and finding someone to hit.
Skrilla said, John bleeping Candy. Goat level, man. Goat level. How mad do you get when your team, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter for your college team, but how mad do you get when a team you like wears a bad uniform? Like a bad uniform.
You know, there's some color rush that I just don't like.
Right.
I mean, that would be it. Because I can't think of, even throwbacks are usually pretty good. Panthers haven't been around long enough to have really bad throwbacks. Kansas City has, but I think there was one that they were wearing that had some beige on it that I wasn't, thrilled about. It's not like Pittsburgh's throwbacks. If I was the one where they look like they're old time prisoners with all the stripes and stuff, I believe it was Pittsburgh. I think the real question is, if you're a player, Do you look at that and go, wait a minute,
Right.
I got to wear that? I don't want to wear that.
So I ask the question because so there have been leaks of what is apparently Nike's World Cup uniforms for the Americans, and they're terrible. They're terrible. They're awful. And everybody, the players, have been responding to pictures of them on Instagram with shots at them. The overwhelming response of fans has been that these are gross. Nobody likes them. To the point that, like, people are taking bets on when they start showing up on clearance at your local Dick's Sporting Goods for $20 because nobody wants to buy them. And it infuriates me a little bit because if you own that contract to produce those uniforms, you've got to give quality effort, right? Like, you can't crank out garbage.
Well, are those according to the style of the day, though? I mean,
No, so the white one is literally just all white with a blue collar and a 1 inch wide red and blue stripe on the sleeve, and that's it. It's terrible for a white jersey. I'm fine with a clean all white or a white with trim, but it's just a bad look. And they look like T-shirts. Like, they're not even like soccer. They look like T-shirts. The blue one is like blue with like faint black. It looks like what a bleach stain would look like, but it's black instead of white. In fact, I'll see if I can find it. They're just horrible, and nobody likes them at all.
Doesn't Mac Jones look like he'd be annoying? He's doing a press conference right now.
100%, he looks like the mean starting quarterback who learns his lesson on how to be a better person from the girl next door who gets a makeover and turns into the smoke show in a high school coming-of-age movie. He looks like the dude whose dad owns the real estate development company that's about to knock down the youth center before the girl next door gets the hottie makeover and convinces him to talk his dad out of doing that.
See, I think you're giving him too much credit. I think he's the guy who's all those things you said, but doesn't learn those lessons. He just stays that guy. And then he inherits the business and treats all the employees like crap, like his dad did.
All right, there's what they look like on the stream. I know it's not a great look. That's all they are. Those are terrible. Those are the actual – I thought they were training tops, right? Like warm-ups that they'd wear over their jerseys.
I kind of like the blue one.
No.
Yeah, I kind of do. But it's just the color more
Oh,
than
it's
anything.
bad, dude. Texter says, Rob, question for Lowe. Given the admiration that Miss Lisa has for Luke Kuechly, does that mean Zoe gets some special attention when he gets home? Zoe rocking the Luke Kuechly jersey today. It's a good look, by the way. The black Luke Kuechly jersey, which is a great look.
I can neither confirm nor deny the what was the question again?
Due to the Kuechly.
No. I got it.
Oh, I was going to ask it again. 100% was going to ask it again.
So you ain't helping me out here.
I know. She's not on the stream yet. You're probably okay for right now.
Yeah, people watch who know her, though.
That's true.
Or
True.
Listen who know her.
Would love to read the text that they're about to set off on her phone.
When she's approached me many times about a fellow employee asking, "Did you hear what your husband said?"
It's not me. It's not me. I'm not a snitch.
It hasn't stopped me from saying those things, but still,
Right.
You know, if I have the opportunity like this to find a way out of it, I'm working on it.
Dear Texter, thank you so much for that text. 71307 Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Start your text with
I have a message for Keegan. Whatever, man. All right.
We got our new 65-inch 4K HD installed in the studio, and we can't get it working.
No, the TV works. I just, it's wanting me to replace my password and some other things, and I just haven't had time to go over and do it. So it's on me. The TV works really good. I know when I came in this morning, it was playing Bluey. Rob doesn't even know what Bluey is,
Nope.
but some of you do.
Nope. Dabo Swinney deserves a golf clap because of the way that he has been handling his discussion about the backup quarterback, Cade Klubnik. Now, Clemson fans are very excited about Cade. Cade is a guy that has gotten a lot of attention nationally, highly touted recruit. As a matter of fact, Lonzo and I have both addressed questions from Clemson fans or statements from Clemson fans that have said, what do we need to do to get DJ to transfer so that Cade can be the starter this year? That's how excited Clemson fans are. They want to run DJU on a rail out of town so that Cade can get his cracks. Well, back in the April spring game, Cade Klubnik made his debut, 15 of 23, a $106 and a touch, compared to DJ's 17 of 36 and 175 stat line. Cade was also, however, getting sacked a lot more. 5 sacks in that game. Well, Dabo's been talking a little bit about Cade. Yesterday, when asked about his progress, said, quote, the game has slowed down for him. New offensive coordinator, Brandon Streeter, added Monday, quote, Cade has done an awesome job. He's done nothing but continue to get better and better and better. These quotes come from Chapel Fowler, covering Clemson for the state newspaper. He says that, quote, though DJ Uiagalelei remains the number 4 Tigers clear starter, Klubnik's performance across 2 preseason camp scrimmages, have further emphasized just how ready the backup is, end quote. I like this. I like the way that Dabo is handling this. I like the way that Brandon Streeter is handling this. And I like how they're handling it because it really does a positive number for both of these cats, DJU and Cade Klubnik. It does a positive for Cade because they're building me up, Buttercup. They're making him realize we see the progress you're making. We see you getting better practice by practice, scrimmage by scrimmage. We see you elevating your game. We see you seeing the game in a better way than you did when you got here. But, Lonzo, do any of those quotes, does anything we've heard from Dabo or Streeter or anybody else in the organization, do any of those quotes make you think for a second they've got the button hovering over, the hand hovering over the substitution button yet?
No, but here's the thing. As far as Dabo goes, he's got experience with this because of freshman quarterbacks coming in with another quarterback established or semi-established and the fans saying, we want that guy. I mean, this is not the first year that's happened for him, so he has experience with it. He knows how to handle it, and he's handling it correctly.
I think so. I think he understands that DJ Uiagalelei feels pressure.
But don't let DJ have a bad game, though, because as soon as he does, the roar of the orange will be really, really loud. We've heard it before.
I agree, but I don't think it necessitates the switch yet, right? Because here's the thing. What happens if DJ has an average game, right? What happens if, I don't know, let's say
the people who want him to go think that he's had nothing but average games. So they got Georgia Tech out front. They should be fine. They got Furman in week 2 at home. They should be fine. They got La Tech in week 3. Even if DJ's not good, they should be fine in the opening 3 games. Week 4, September 24th, they got Wake Forest. Week 5, October 1st, they got NC State. Let's say DJ is anything but good in those games, right? Let's say he's average. Not bad, just average. What happens if you bump DJU and bring in Cade in that game, and Cade is not good, right? Now, granted, the built-in excuse there is he's a freshman, right? It's year number 1. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for him to learn the speed of real college football. It's going to take some time for him to execute the system against defenders that are trying to kill him,
It's going to take. But if you throw him into the fire without giving him a handful of weeks to figure out the week-to-week regular season aspects of college football, it's going to be bad for him, and you are going to tank whatever confidence DJ Uiagalelei has built up this offseason, of which he definitely has because we've seen it. You're going to tank that, which means if he comes in and he plays not great, going back to DJ, in my opinion, isn't an option anymore. You've ruined him. You've tanked him, right? I think what Dabo and Streeter and these guys are doing is very intelligent. It's the right way to handle it. They are giving credit to Cade Klubnik. They are giving praise to Cade. But there ain't a soul out there, including and most importantly, Cade Klubnik and DJ Uiagalelei, who are reading these comments, listening to these quotes, and thinking, yeah, they're gonna sub us out here, right? They're gonna flip the order here. Nobody's taking that away from what these guys are saying. And I think it's the best way to handle the situation. I think you're handling it in a way that builds up Cade Klubnik. I think you're handling it in a way that allows him to hear you're growing, you're playing better, you're performing, you're doing well, without putting it into his head, as I've mentioned many times, I'm afraid is what happened to DJ, right? When TL16 was out there, he was so damn good that you could build up DJ higher than you ordinarily would a backup quarterback. Because there was no world in which DJU was replacing TL16 under center. There is a world where DJU gets replaced by Cade Klubnik this season. TL was never threatened by DJ. DJ is threatened by Cade now, this year. So because TL16 was never being threatened, you could allow him to be built into the brand, the Big Cinco brand, the DJU brand. So when it came time for him to step in, he felt like he was already a legend, though it wasn't earned yet. They're not doing that with Cade Klubnik. Now, the situation's different. Nobody looks at DJ like you looked at Trevor, obviously. So, you can't build Cade Klubnik up like you built DJ up. Because he's looking at this thinking, there is a chance I play this year, right? So, Cade Klubnik is not going to become a brand before he ever plays a role as the permanent starter like DJ did. Which I've told you, I think is the biggest problem in DJU's career so far. He was Big Cinco before he was QB1. And when he became QB1, Big Cinco was the thing. Cade is not going to be Big CK because Dabo and Streeter and co aren't building him up that way. They are handling this as if they have learned the lesson from last year, and they're not letting it happen again this year. And that's good coaching. That's good coaching. That's good team philosophy. And it's being played exceptionally well by Dabo, by Streeter, by the Tigers. And they deserve to be committed for it. Let's take a break. We're back after this. Got a lot more to get into. My name is Rob. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
I don't know what you were about to call me, but I probably wouldn't have liked it.
I was going to call you Rob because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked it because we already have enough Robs around here. We don't need another one.
Hendricks told me there was a point where there were like 4 or 5 Marks working in the building.
Yeah. Upstairs, downstairs. Yeah, there are marks everywhere.
Yeah.
There still are marks, but, you know, they're not. Yeah. But then there are people who are marks, but they're not called Mark. Don't hit the TV. It doesn't work. It does work, Keegan. I loved your comment though, Keegan. You're right.
What do you say?
Not only am I doing my normal job this week, but I'm also filling in for someone who's on vacation. So, and starting other ventures. So, you know.
James said the Naval Air Museum in Pensacola is top-notch. It absolutely is. If you have never been to Pensacola, if you go to Pensacola, go there. Actually, you can't right now because the base is still locked down post-COVID. I don't know why. But the Naval Air Museum is absolutely a spectacular museum, without a doubt. There it is. There it is. Kobe. Downloaded Battlefront 2 off of Game Pass yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Jumped into that. Played it for like 6 hours last night. It's got a really interesting story to it. Have you played it? It's about this.
I thought those games were just multiplayer.
No, there's stories to them. Well, Battlefront 2, there's a story to it, and it's really entertaining. What's interesting about it, I won't give you the setup to it, but it's a really compelling story. It does involve Luke, Leia, Han, Lando, like all the major players, and it works around the major battles from the original trilogy. So you go to Endor, but
actually, I've played it on multiplayer. I've never played it on single.
The story
because I played it with cameras.
You should play the story. The story's good. You go to Endor, but after the rebels have destroyed the shield generator, you fly through the remnants of the destroyed Death Star off of Endor. There's a lot of, like, it's really interesting. I've never played a game that's like, there's a lot of games that put you into the major battles, right? This one involves all those. It's got its own separate story away from those battles, but it takes you to those scenes. But it also includes scenes from the new trilogy, too. Like, I met Maz last night and had a battle around her smuggler's den. Like, it's really cool.
There are some people who don't like stuff like that because it's outside the canon and you can't and
I mean, it's got Luke, Leia, and Han, Chewie.
There can't be other stories. Nothing else exists out of those, other than those. All right, Steven, you and Keegan and others are making me feel inefficient that I don't have that fixed right now, and it's bothering me. After the show, I will figure out why my login isn't working.
The final, the best of money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. How do you do? Great to be back with you for the back 60 of the show. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is at the helm. And you can be on the air as well by calling 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FANFONE. 844-326-3663. That's how you be a part of the show. We'd love to have you. Want you on board. Be on board. Jump on board. And let's have a little fun. Shall we? We indeed shall, my friends. We indeed shall. Texter on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, and we will read them on the air. Texas says, Clemson's strength of schedule is around 5th to 8th. Be tough for a true freshman to win, but hey, whatever can get us there. Look, I'm going to be real with you. The schedule ain't easy despite being in the ACC, but it ain't exactly SEC either, right? Georgia Tech's a walk. All due respect to our friends at Furman, but Clemson at home, they know what that game is, right? That's a paycheck game. La Tech should be fine. Wake Forest is a much improved team. Will Sam Hartman be back? Remember, he had that away from football medical issue that has taken him away from the team for the time being. And if he is back, does he have ring rust? We'll see. Week after that, they got NC State. That's a top 15 team and a much improved team and a team with a really good front four. Later in the year, they got Notre Dame on the road. They turn around the week after that, and they've got a really interesting Louisville team with Malik. I am intrigued by that game because you've got a mobile quarterback in Malik Cunningham who can change the dynamic of football. That Louisville game's not going to be a walk. It is in Clemson. Then, 7 days later, a top 17 Miami Hurricanes team comes to town. Now, a lot of people don't believe in Miami yet, and I don't blame them, right? Miami's been back for 5 or 6 years now. But Mario Cristobal at Miami has me very intrigued. Very intrigued. Because Cristobal was doing good things at Oregon, and from what I've been able to tell following that team lightly, the culture change has been real in Coral Gables. And then the Gamecocks come to town. And again, you should be fine in that game, but it is a rivalry game, and we know how those go sometimes, right? I do not want to throw Cade Klubnik in too early. I really don't. Which is why I like what Dabo and Streeter are doing and building him up without doing it in a way that can even kind of be misconstrued as knocking DJU. I think they're handling it brilliantly, to be honest with you. Let me get to a couple of other stories because it's Thursday, and you know what that means. Fight Club with Lonzo comes up in the next segment. We take you through all things combat sports, your home for boxing, MMA, and professional wrestling coverage is right here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Lonzo's Fight Club is next.
I don't know why I put my fists up like I'm actually going to fight, because more than I'm going to go to my wrestling background. I'm going to take you down. That's what I'm going to do, and put some sort of submission that will just make you cry.
A lot of people don't know how to throw a punch. I've seen some bar fights that are like, not a good look. Not a good look. Maybe that'll come up in Fight Club. We'll see. We'll see. Why, you might ask, hypothetical listener who definitely does not exist and definitely does not ask, why have we not gotten a ruling regarding Deshaun Watson yet? There was a lot of controversy last week as the Browns took on the Jaguars down in Jayville. Remember we, discussed, praised the Jaguars fans for the "you sick bleep" chant that they threw at Deshaun during the entire duration of his opening drive.
Let's face it, you shocked the world when you praised Jacksonville. But when I seen it,
I shocked me.
When I saw and listened, when I seen it, I thought Rob Brown is going to have to go on the air and praise Jacksonville.
And I did.
You did. You absolutely did.
And I did. The "no means no" chant that they threw at him. With the controversy, with the fact that the one reason the Browns played that cat in the preseason, knowing that he is well more than likely at least catching a 6-game suspension. Why would they have played him? I gave you my answer. Number one, to see what the ring rust looked like. And number two, to force the NFL into acting. Because the sooner the NFL acts, the sooner the Browns can decide, okay, we're going to let that suspend. Well, scratch that. The sooner the NFLPA, which are joined up with the Browns, not because they are on the same team, but because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? We may not be amigos, but we're on the same team here, right? The sooner the NFL acts, the sooner the Browns can go, we're good with this, we're not good with this. The sooner the NFLPA can get involved and try to minimize the suspension, the sooner he can be on the field and available for Cleveland. So, why don't we have a decision yet? Why don't we have a ruling yet? A suspension length yet? The answer is because in a tactical and strategic move from the National Football League, Roger Goodell has handed the final decision of the NFL's appeal to another officer. Former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey has been appointed by Roger Goodell to be his designee to hear the appeal. Effectively, Roger knows the NFLPA is going to bring out the big litigation guns if he, himself, and solo handle this appeal, right? If he said, yeah, no, we're not good with the initial punishment, so we're going to appeal the ruling, and I have decided unilaterally that blank. He knows the NFL would bring out the bazookas over that. So instead, he appointed another former litigator, the former New Jersey Attorney General Peter Harvey. And he's going to let Harvey let the final decision come down, because it's going to give him a little bit of wiggle room in the, I am sure, inevitable litigation coming his way from the NFLPA, Deshaun's camp, and potentially the Cleveland Browns. So that's a big part of that. But why has Harvey not given us a ruling yet? Well, the reports floating around right now is that Harvey, whose ruling is, quote, final and binding, end quote, per the collective bargaining agreement, Harvey knows, as we have learned over the past 3 days, that Deshaun's camp and the National Football League are currently having discussions about a settlement. That is to say, they're sitting down to see if they can come up with a punishment that both sides feel is suitable and acceptable. They are trying to come up with a suspension length that the NFL feels will get their point across, But Deshaun will also accept, because as I told you, if Deshaun catches a full game suspension, the 1 year salary agreement in his contract rolls to next year, meaning that he will have to perform at a higher level for a longer length of time to receive his contract in full. It's a weird situation. I'm not an attorney. I don't know all the ins and outs of the legalese, but I have read multiple reports that effectively say if Deshaun eats a full year suspension, the $1 million clause rolls to next year, and Deshaun's got a lot of work to do to get the back end of that contract. I don't know how it works. I don't care, frankly. I'll take that as the way this works. So Deshaun and the NFL, Deshaun's camp in the NFL, are sitting down as we speaketh, trying to come up with a punishment the NFL feels is appropriate and that Deshaun would be willing to accept. Part of that would be taking some amount of games that the NFL wants Deshaun suspended and converting that into a fat fine. The first report came out, said that Deshaun would be willing to take an 8-game suspension, which is obviously as close to half the season as you can get, since there's not a half a season, but an 8-game suspension and pay like an $8 to $10 million fine to the National Football League, which I assume the NFL would put into women's domestic shelters, assistance for violence, for victims of sexual violence, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason that Harvey has not issued a ruling on Deshaun yet is that he wants these settlement talks to hit an impasse before he does. Because if he lays out a ruling, settlement talks die. There are no more settlements after that, right? The ruling is final and binding. It is straight to, should the NFLPA decide to file litigation, straight to the courtroom. If he does not file the ruling, he gives the NFL and Deshaun a chance to come up with a suspension that both agree on, that saves the National Football League a huge lawsuit from the NFLPA, saves the NFLPA from getting into that lawsuit and effectively having to fight against a CBA they've already agreed to, which, by the way, is why I think the NFL has the bigger hammer in this fight. The NFL has the bigger hammer because whatever the outcome of this is, they are going to get to point to the NFLPA or, maybe more importantly, any judge that overhears this lawsuit, should it be filed, and say, yo, look, we know you don't like it, and we know why you don't like it, but you agreed to this, NFLPA. You signed the paperwork. You said you were good with this. Why are we here? And that's going to hold some weight in court, right? A federal judge is going to go, yeah, you did. You kind of signed that paperwork. So this is a way for all parties to walk away, not necessarily satisfied with the outcome, but satisfied with the outcome more than to be happy to go into a lawsuit. It allows the NFL to have the suspension and fine that they feel gets their point across that they've taken this seriously. It allows Deshaun to play this year and earn that $1 million paycheck and then roll directly into next year where he gets paid a lot more money. And it allows the NFLPA and the NFL both to avoid a fat lawsuit. That's why we don't have a ruling yet. That's why Deshaun is eligible to play this week and next week in the postseason, because Harvey not ruling allows the NFL and Deshaun to come to a settlement, clear the air, be done with the situation, and not bring lawyers into it. That's it.
I'm just trying to get behind the fact that if you're accused of doing as many things as Deshaun Watson is, don't you want this done and just out and just done? I mean, unfortunately, it will fade like most things that happen in the NFL when there are offenses that people, there's an outcry that person shouldn't be playing. They end up playing, and people just tend to kind of forget after a while. If you're Deshaun Watson, don't you want this to just be done?
Yes.
If it's a season, it's a season. Go ahead and get the season out of the way. But if you keep the fact that this thing's going on and on and on, it's kind of ridiculous.
I'm going to go with Deshaun wants it to end provided he gets to play some this year. Because again, remember, there are, and I don't know all of the details because I'm dumb and don't know lawyer speak, but there are massive financial implications on Deshaun Watson if he gets a full year suspension, right? If he just said to the NFL, you know what, just do whatever, right? Let's just end this. Let's just be done with this. I want to get my name out of the news cycle. I want to get my name out of the news cycle. Let's be done with it. And they pop him with a 17-game suspension. There's big financial implications on Deshaun Watson that he has to deal with. That is why Deshaun is willing, according to reports, if this is true, which I believe it is, that is why it appears that Deshaun is willing to say, you know what, I will take a heavier than 6-game suspension. I'll take 8, maybe 10, and a fat $8 million or $10 million fine on top of that in order to play this year and be done with it so that I can get the contract worked the way I structured it with the Browns without having to get into the gory details that might cost me millions of dollars down the line, right? This is not Deshaun being repentant. This is not Deshaun admitting, yeah, I made a mistake and I'm sorry and I'll take my punishment. This is Deshaun protecting his wallet, protecting his bank account, and trying to spin it as if he is repentant. Spin it as if he is sorry and willing to take a punishment. It's a PR move. It's a PR move attached to a financial move. That's it and not much else. The NFL, on the flip side, is not saying, oh, we don't care about this anymore, or, you know, we think Deshaun has learned a lesson, so we're lessening that. No. This is the NFL going, even if we think we would win, a lawsuit versus the NFLPA is bad. Not just in terms of the money it's going to cost the NFL. It's bad because it will damage the relationship between the NFL and the PA, even worse than it already is, which will make the next round of collective bargaining that much uglier, that much more difficult, which puts a big strain on the NFL. Everybody is trying to protect their own backside right now. That's it and nothing more. That's why Harvey's not issuing a ruling. That's why they're still trying to go through this settlement. And that's why Harvey won't issue a ruling until effectively, my guess, a night or two before the Browns' first game. If they don't have a settlement in place in the next 2 weeks, then Harvey will come down with a ruling. And it will be favorable to what the NFL wants. May not be the full season, but it'll be 10 or 12, not 6 or 8.
So if you're the Carolina Panthers and you play the Cleveland Browns very first game of the season, are you watching as much practice as you can find to see if there's a trend towards someone else other than Deshaun Watson to gauge whether they've already found out ahead of time what's going to happen with the season?
I don't think you can worry about it because Deshaun's not playing week 1. Whether it's Harvey's decision or a settlement, Deshaun's not playing week 1. The Browns are in trouble. Unless they decide to pull the trigger on a Jimmy Garoppolo, which they're not. There's too much money there for a guy that's only going to play half the season.
And even if they did, you're so deep into training camp right now, how good would he be anyway?
Better than Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, you're right. He'd be better than
Jacoby Brissett. That's not a shot at Jacoby. It just is what it is, right? But you're not going to give Jimmy Garoppolo the contract that Jimmy G's looking for and would get elsewhere to bring him in when you don't know. If Deshaun's out the full season, right? Like if they don't hit a settlement and Harvey comes back and goes, yep, full season, Jimmy G's a Brown for 1 year, 1 year contract. If Deshaun's eligible for 6 games or 12 games, they won't sign him. They'll roll with Jacoby because they're going to let Deshaun use whatever time he is eligible for to get in shape for next season when the Browns make a push to build around him. Let's take a break. We come back here in just a minute from right now. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for Fight Club with Lonzo, your home for all things combat sports in the upstate.
I scared him with the bow I threw.
Yeah,
I did.
You did. It's Fight Club next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
So I'm curious, if the Calliope crashed to the ground, why was it raised? And how far did it actually fall? And how much damage would the Calliope crashing to the ground cause?
First off, you couldn't see it because you were blinded by the light.
True, but you would at least heard it.
But a Calliope, like a traditional Calliope, as I see it in my head, is on like a wagon, right? Because that's how they would drag them from town to town. So it could be crashing off of the wagon cart. I believe you could also technically put a Calliope on a big platform, or on any platform. You'd have to put it on a platform because it's a mobile thing. So I don't know the height of the Calliope crashing to the ground.
So in essence, I get it. So the Calliope is mobile for some reason, like someone is driving it somewhere. They were blinded by the light, and the Calliope crashed to the ground. Okay, all right.
And she was blinded by the light. Revved up like a deuce. Another roller in the night.
It's okay because you're going to make it through the night, so it's going to be all right. And I never knew what that song meant as a kid when it came out because I think I was fairly young when it came out. Still don't know what it means, but, other than the calliope. Although I have been blinded by the light.
The old go-kart Mozart.
Do you guys play that song?
No.
Don't act offended. I mean, it's a possibility. Is it you don't go that far back?
Oh, no, we do. I was more along the lines of that song would be hard to play, I think.
Yeah, that's the reason why I was asking.
We don't play any song that's hard, Lonzo. We don't play any songs that are technically challenging. I think the hardest song we play is Rebel Yell.
How is that?
Complicated? It's really not.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just not
You're
good.
just making the point.
We're just
Okay.
not good.
How is that hard? I mean, I can't play it, but still.
Some silicone mister with the manager mister told me.
The reason why I ask if you play it, because you actually know all the words. Dude. It's not something that, no offense, you've talked about it on the air, that there's some lyrics but those are complicated lyrics, which I didn't know. And the fact that you could be making it up, but it sounds right. So, I mean,
Right. That was on the list of Manfred Mann was in my mom's. The lyrics I know are the ones that were in my mom's repertoire.
Gotcha.
My dad was all like John Denver, the Eagles. My mom was like Zeppelin, Skinner, Manfred Mann, like rock. My mom was a heavier rocker than my dad.
Well, welcome into the Fight Club. We're coming at you like Christian McCaffrey. That's a defender who had the nerve to take him down that way.
McCaffrey said, "I will spike the ball and make you lose your groin, son."
We also have a hockey team backing us up. So, goons on standby for the Fight Club today. All right, so lots of wrestling again today. There's a UFC event this weekend, but I mean, the main event is basically it, and it's a 2. When you get to 2s, usually it's the same guy who won. Usman's probably going to win that fight. He's probably going to win that fight. All right. I'm 95% sure Usman's going to win that fight. He, pound for pound, is one of the best fighters in the world.
I think you're right. I do. I think you're right. Kamaru Usman is, first off, a bad man. He's got the length. He's got the reach. I'll tell you what I really like about Kamaru Usman that I think makes him a bit of a challenge for Edwards here is probably the most versatile switch foot fighter at this level, right? Like, Leon Edwards fights southpaw. Usman can go either direction. So just when you think you get into a rhythm against Kamaru Usman, he's just going to flip it around and come at you from the other side. And now you've got to have 2 game plans, and you've got to game plan them both for one fight, and you've got to execute 2 game plans at the same time. That's a massive advantage. Also, Usman throws power punches, Lonzo, at a 49% hit rate. 49%. Every time he throws a punch, he's got a 1 in 2 chance of connecting. That's terrifying. Most guys are at like a 33 to 35% clip. He hits you with 1 out of every 2. Doesn't throw as many, but he doesn't need to. He's going to connect more. This is Usman's fight. He's retaining here. Not to say I'm not interested in it.
I got you, but it's not, the card is not good enough for me to put down the cash that I need to put down to watch the entire card.
I actually agree with that too. The card doesn't compel me. That fight does.
All right, let us get to the WWE. I think we're in week number 4 under the Triple H regime. The question is, does it continue to get better? Has it stagnated? Or are you seeing it trending upwards?
Yes, I am. I am seeing a trend upwards. It has been progressively better. Now, who was it? Was it? I don't remember. Was it Russo? I don't know. It was one of the guys. It was either Russo or Meltzer that said, what will be interesting is in about 3 weeks when the NFL kicks off and they're back up against Monday Night Football again, right? Because the question's going to be, does H ramp up even more, right? Does he start letting them be even more free? Becky Lynch did a whole thing yesterday where she's like, I feel better about my promos now than I did 4 weeks ago because they're not handing me a script anymore. They're handing me bullet points. They're saying, we want you to hit this, this, and this. Now go do it the Becky Lynch way. Does H even pull that back further, or does he get a little more formulaic in order to try to compete with America's most watched television show, MNF? It's going to be really interesting to see what, if any, changes take place at that point.
So the thing is, they've had the PG-13 pulled back. Do you wait till that moment when Monday Night Football is starting to start being edgier and going back a little bit towards the direction that they were at one point? I don't think they'll get as bad as they were.
No, we're not going attitude era. People need to chill with that.
Yeah, so I don't think we're getting that, but I think you get a little more edgier, and that's the time to do it. You do something enough to where if you don't get the people the first week, there are headlines the next day, and then the following Monday, you got to go and see what's going to happen.
I'm kind of intrigued by that because my gut reaction was you got to go one of two ways. You either got to go closer to the Attitude Era so that you get the I'm kind of a football fan, kind of a wrestling fan, but WWE's on such a tear right now, I got to watch and see what they're doing. Or you got to go the exact other direction. And while I don't love this, I understand the appeal of it. You got to kind of pull it back to be a little more family friendly so that people with kids are like, all right, I'll just put on wrestling. I'll catch up with football later. You have to move one direction or the other, I think. You got to go one direction or the other. But I don't know which one they decide to go with.
All right, Raw this week, really, really good, especially the matches. The matches are getting better. You're getting matchups that maybe you see at a pay-per-view. I don't know if this is AEW influence or if this is Triple H's influence, because one thing that AEW does well is they have matches that should be on a pay-per-view. Well, WWE is starting to do that with a couple of matchups, including Drew McIntyre versus Kevin Owens.
Oh, that was fantastic.
It's good to see the Kevin Owens back that we saw for a really long time.
Prize fighter.
And the other thing is, Kevin Owens against Drew McIntyre, you're actually seeing that Drew McIntyre has more of a range than you thought he did. Same with Kevin Owens. I think that's the other thing. There are restrictions on what these guys were allowed to do, especially the big guys. Big guys have to act like big guys. They can't do things, that a cruiserweight will do. If we start seeing that pull back even further, that's going to be amazing because there's some big guys that can do some stuff that will get people to tune in because they can't believe someone like that can do it, can defy gravity, can do things that the little guys can do. And if you watch some behind-the-scenes things and see some of what these guys did when they were in indies or something like that, they were doing that kind of stuff. But they get to the WWE, and there's a formula, and they're not allowed to do it anymore.
You got that out of McIntyre KO. You're also getting H letting these guys be their best character, right? KO, when he got called up from NXT to the main roster, came up as Kevin Owens, the prize fighter. He only fought in fights that made him money. And I thought that was a spectacular character, right? Like that. And I've told Lonzo this a million times. My favorite characters in wrestling companies.
What I enjoy about the wrestlings is
I like the wrestlings. My favorite characters in wrestling are the ones that have a real life feel, right? Like, I'm not saying they have to be like, this is just regular guy, but a real life feel. We all know the lackadaisical Orange Cassidy in our life. It's just an exaggeration, a caricature of that. Drew McIntyre is over as hell. Why? Because you feel his story as the guy that was supposed to be the next big thing, and the corporate powers at work killed him off, and he had to kind of reinvent himself. Kevin Owens, a prize fighter, makes sense if wrestling is real, right? It makes sense if wrestling is real. A lot of guys say, I'm just going to come out and fight whenever, whoever. That would be dumb in a real life combat sport because you're going to end your career. KO with a character that's like, I only fight for belts or paychecks is a real, if wrestling was real, that character makes sense. So to bring that character back makes a lot of sense. And the fight against McIntyre makes sense because if he wins that fight, he's the number one contender at that point. I liked it. I thought it was great. And the match was good. Lashley, AJ Styles. How have those two guys been in WWE together that long as two of the best ever and not squared off? And here's what I loved about it. They inflated the importance of the mid-tier championships. All of a sudden, the Intercontinental Championship, the U.S. Championship belt, those belts now matter as opposed to just kind of floating around when Zoe and I would come in here and be like, who's Intercontinental Champ again? I don't remember. We don't have that anymore.
All right, so this goes along the lines with the allowing the big guys to do other things. Lashley is basically Goldberg. That's how he's been billed. Only a couple different moves. That's it. But he has a lot more moves, and we saw that with him wrestling against AJ. And it's almost like you keep him, you put him against someone who we know can do all kinds of stuff, and he shined through that. He looked really. He's a better wrestler than what I thought he was, and I would not have known if I hadn't seen him wrestle AJ. Now during that match, Dexter Lumis comes out again. There's a theory out there, and I like this theory, and theory is a key word here. All right. The theory is that Dexter Lumis is there to help Theory. And Johnny Gargano will suddenly show up along with Candice LeRae to help Theory. That the way to take down a family is with another family. A way to take down the island of relevancy is to flip it on its side. And you do that by countering it with the way. And another thing that adds to the possibility of something like this happening is on NXT. I'm like one of the only people in the world still watch it. Indy Hartwell was on there talking about how she missed her family, how she missed her friends, and then she got a love note from Dexter Lumis.
So Dexter Lumis grew on me a lot when I was watching NXT, towards the end of the black and gold brand. I stopped watching when it became the watercolor brand, right? I was out at that point. When it was black and gold, I watched NXT more than I watched Raw. It was a better show when H was running it. And Dexter grew on me like a lot towards the end of his run. And then he just disappeared. I like not just that they're presenting him, but how they are presenting him as a genuine outsider, a guy who's not supposed to be there, a guy that's willing to risk all of this. You're going to have to come up with a kayfabe reason why he's not in jail every week that he does this, which I think could be fun, right? Like, give me a reason that off the books, Austin Theory is paying his bond every time he comes out, right? Like, give me something like that. And I'm 100% in. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, you have got a story that's playing out here, Lonzo, and we don't know why. We don't know why it's happening. Those are the best stories. The stories that you can telegraph from the day two guys face off with each other suck. They're boring, even if they result in a great match. I will take a wrestling company that has very average matches, but great stories leading up to them, before I take a wrestling company that has crap for story and incredible matches, and H is leaning in the first direction, but also we're getting some pretty good stuff. KO McIntyre, Lashley AJ, those are phenomenal matches that I would expect to be pay-per-view matches, and we got them on a random Monday. Give it to me.
And by the way, the best part about this is they're letting this story have time to breathe.
Yeah.
We don't know what the story is. It's barely begun. More than likely, this is going to take a while before it plays out.
And that's good. And we need that, right? Like, again, to me, I've always said the best way to watch wrestling is don't watch wrestling as if it's real. Watch wrestling as if it is a TV show about a wrestling company, right? Don't watch it like it's real. Watch it like it's a TV show about a company. Here's the thing. In real life, if a dude starts showing up and doing stuff, he's not going to walk into the place where he's going to do a thing and go, hey, everybody, can I get your attention? The reason that I'm here tonight is because I want to accomplish this. And in order to accomplish this, I have to do this. And in order to do that, I have to beat that guy. So I am going to now do this, this, and this in order to. No, they just show up and work. They just show up and do the things they need to do to accomplish their goals. And you figure it out as we go. Right? The worst bad guys in movies, which guys? They're the bad guys that monologue. They're the bad guys that go, no, Mr. Bond, you see, when I was a young man back in my home country, British MI5, let us figure it out. It's more fun that way. And that's what they're doing. And when you look at that, all of a sudden, Raw is dramatically better.
It is. And we only got a couple minutes to talk about AEW. Each week we got to focus on one or the other. Did Kenny Omega return last night early because of what's happening in the WWE? Did AEW need that push? You can tell, I mean, they're pointing out how many injuries he had on the broadcast, talking about, it was a leg, it was a shoulder, it was all this stuff, and he's still wearing some padding. He did not look in ring shape last night. There's a couple of times you could tell that he was blown up, and or the Dragon Lee thing took a whole lot out of him. So Dragon Lee dives out of the ring upside down and hits him.
Spot.
That was that kind of thing should never happen.
That was a rough spot.
Because that was just crazy.
Yeah.
It absolutely was. That match was really good, other than the fact that you could tell that Kenny Omega was tired, and it makes it look like they brought him back early because they needed a push, and they really needed him.
I do think they brought him back early. I don't think they brought him back early because of what's happening in WWE. I think they brought him back early because of what's happening at AEW. You brought Punk back, and, now Punk looks better than Omega, but he also hasn't wrestled, right? He's gone out to the ring, and he's had a couple of showdowns with Mox that, frankly, I think have been pretty entertaining, right?
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the exchange last night was talking about the blood, and even JR mentioned something about the blood. So everything that we've been saying, they're noticing that there's too much blood.
But that's what you want, right? That's acknowledged growth. The first step in getting better is acknowledging what you're bad at.
When Punk said, should I stand here and let you bleed all over me?
Yeah. But I don't think you brought Omega back early because of what's happening with WWE. I think it's like golf, man. You don't worry about what the guy on the 16th hole does. You worry about what you're doing. The only person you can make better is you, and the only person you can beat is you. I think because Punk had been gone so long, because Danielson had been gone so long, and because and Omega had been gone so long, and you brought back Danielson and you brought back Punk, you might as well throw Omega in there and let the Bucks carry him.
And by the way,
they did.
They are faces.
They are now? As of last night?
Even Don Callis talked like a face.
Yeah.
He did not talk like a heel.
But it works. Now, the great thing about that is you can do one show where they come out as face. You can do one show where they go up against a clear heel stable, and then they can come back next week and revert right back, and the story still makes sense. That's good storytelling. That's what makes wrestling great. It really does. Texture says, Robin Zoe, Lashley is light years ahead of his first WWE run when people were making fun of his promos. Oh, I agree. Bobby Lashley today is an enjoyable product. Bobby Lashley 5 years ago was very much not. Let's take a break. Come back, Twitter Trending Topics, to call it a show on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Sorry, concert.
Right back, stream. Don't go anywhere. Ow. Didn't need that foot anyway.
I don't feel overwhelmed at this moment, but I feel extremely rushed and a bunch of people coming at me at once and some things that I also need to figure out how to do,
Can I help with anything?
which is why I'm somewhat distracted.
Yeah.
And I
You're
apologize
good.
for that.
Ain't no need to apologize. You've worked with me enough to know I'm distracted a lot of the time. Some people argue most of the time.
My other problem is, like with these chapters, I'm too busy trying to figure out why it's doing what it's doing, and I should just worry about that later.
I mean, they've told us it's a priority. So.
It is a priority, but all the extra things, and I should have been able to delete, and I can't. And so I'm overthinking. Not overthinking, I'm thinking too much.
That is overthinking.
Yeah, but overthinking one topic is overthinking to me. Brain on overload, too much stuff. Lonzo about flowed something. I'm good. I'll get it together eventually. Like now.
I hope so. For 8 minutes.
All right, time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending, and he tells us why. The first thing that is trending is Baker!
Baker! Baker's trending because the reports out are that while he has not said it publicly, at least not in the last 3 hours that I have seen, reports are starting to circulate that the Panthers know their starting quarterback. And my well thought out, extremely well put together, and incredibly well orated response to that, Lonzo, is duh.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm a professional.
Yeah, I come on, people. There were a couple vocal people, and I know it hasn't been said yet that he's absolutely the starter. There are a couple people out there who have said that Baker was not as good as Sam Darnold.
One guy at camp who was like, Sam, you're our quarterback. And I was like, nah, that dude just wants to hear himself on ESPN later.
I still believe that was a listener. That was one of our listeners that went out and did that.
We did tell them to go out and give Sam some
You
love,
specifically asked for someone to yell Sam, and someone did.
Nobody called in and claimed credit for that. So
you don't need credit. It's everywhere.
No, that person should have.
That's what I mean. They don't need credit. It's everywhere. They heard their voice note. If you were the guy who yelled, do you really want people to know it was you? You did it because someone dared you to do it. You don't need to take credit for that. I mean, yeah, it was me. All right, the next thing that's trending is She-Hulk.
She-Hulk drops today. Episode number 1. I don't know if it's more than 1 or just number 1.
I believe it's just 1.
I'm intrigued. And I'm intrigued, Zoe, because we've started specifically with the Disney Plus shows out of the MCU. We've gotten some variety, right? Like Moon Knight was not like anything else they've done. WandaVision was not like anything else they've done. And with this one, it appears they're pretty much going like classic legal sitcom, except the lawyer can throw the bad guy into the sun, right? And I'm intrigued by it. The previews make it look like it's just going to be your classic 90s empowered single female in a high-powered job takes on the struggles of day-to-day life, but also she's a giant green superhero dealing with that identity. And we get the Hulk. We get Mark Ruffalo showing up, which is
We also get Daredevil, and that's been a concern about some people that he's going to be watered down to a point that it's going to hurt his upcoming series.
I gotta think this is Disney Plus and Marvel utilizing this to see is there an appetite for more Daredevil? Which the answer is hell yeah, because Daredevil on Netflix was spectacular. And now that we got a genuine Kingpin out of the Hawkeye series, I absolutely think there is. But I think this is them saying, okay, we're not Netflix, we're Disney Plus. Is there a feel for exceptionally rough Daredevil within this version of the MCU? That's my thought. But we'll see. She-Hulk episode 1 drops out. I will watch it tonight and tweet about it. I watched AEW live last night, Lonzo. You know how rare that is for me nowadays? It's because the girlfriend's sick, and it was like, oh, you're sick. I better just stay in the man cave and let you rest. That's it for us. Jim Rum's got you next in the jungle. Mark Ryan, Carter Bryant takes you offside on behalf of Mark Ryan at 3 o'clock. You all have a great rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here tomorrow to wrap up the week on The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. Dudes and dudettes, you're amazing people.